This is Medical Device Legal News. Today is May 9, 2023. I'm Sam Bernstein. As you're likely aware, the Public Health Emergency Declaration expires this week on May 11th. As we previously reported, many of the guidance documents establishing enforcement discretion by the FDA for the marketing and distribution of uncleared products during the public health emergency expire 180 days after the expiration of the Public Health Emergency Declaration. Accordingly, if any of your products are currently being marketed or distributed under enforcement discretion, you should review the applicable guidance documents to determine the expiration deadline, develop a transition implementation plan, and if applicable, submit a marketing submission before the expiration of the enforcement discretion. As we previously reported, for products distributed under an EUA, HHS will announce with 180 days advance notice the termination of each EUA declaration under Section 564. On May 2nd, 2023, the EPA began holding virtual public hearings regarding its proposed rules on ethylene oxide. As we previously reported, the EPA has proposed rules which include limitations on the use of ETO to sterilize medical devices, as well as various reporting and remediating measures. At the hearing, environmental groups called on the EPA to adopt fence line monitoring mandates, among other limitations. Industry trade groups, including AdvaMed, continue to assert the importance of ETO to the sterilization of medical devices and to assert the continued safety of their use. On May 4, 2023, James Jeremy Barbera, the former founder and CEO of Nanobeak Biotech, was sentenced to 48 months in prison for defrauding investors by falsely claiming that his company had developed a breathalyzer device that detected cancer and narcotics. Barbera allegedly defrauded investors out of $7 million for a device that allegedly never existed, lied about his education and expertise, and was previously barred from serving as the CEO of a public company due to prior securities actions. As evidenced by this case and other recent cases in the past, including Theranos, investors should be wary of claims of breakthrough technology and take a trust but verify approach. It's important to verify that technology actually exists before making significant investments. As reflected in the Theranos case, even media attention, significant contracts, and the presence of trusted advisors does not necessarily mean the technology performs as expected. Accordingly, strategic and other investors should seek to scientifically verify the existence and performance of technology, and in particular, breakthrough technology, before making significant investments. On May 8th, Premier announced that its board was evaluating strategic alternatives, including the potential sale of a part or all of the company. On May 3rd, the FDA issued draft guidance regarding decentralized clinical trials. As you're aware, the FDA's draft guidance documents do not establish legally enforceable responsibilities, and if and when finalized, will instead describe the agency's current thinking on a particular topic and should be viewed primarily as recommendations. The guidance on decentralized clinical trials includes recommendations for sponsors, investigators, and other stakeholders regarding decentralized trials for drugs, biologicals, and medical devices. In other words, for trials where some or all of the trial activities occur in locations other than at a typical clinical site, such as in participants' homes or at local healthcare facilities, or using digital health and telehealth technologies. The guidance provides that fully decentralized trials may be appropriate for investigational products that are simple to administer, have well-defined safety protocols, and do not require complex medical assessments. Conversely, hybrid decentralized trials, so trials involving a potential clinical trial site as well as at home or some other off trial site location, those types of hybrid trials may be appropriate when a complex medical assessment needs to be conducted with follow-up remote assessments. Decentralized trials should include a plan regarding the use of, as applicable, local healthcare facilities, labs, local healthcare providers, visits to participants' homes, the direct distribution of investigational products, as well as the use of digital health and other telehealth technologies. This plan should include a physical location for the maintenance of records, as well as for the interview of trial personnel, and that location should be listed in the IDE. The guidance also raises concerns that the variability of data in a decentralized trial could affect the validity of non-inferiority findings, and therefore they recommend consultation with FDA regarding non-inferiority trials in a decentralized clinical trial setting. Specifically, the FDA has raised concerns that the effect size of a control in a traditional trial may actually be different than the control in a decentralized clinical trial. In terms of designing DCTs, the guidance recommends utilizing telehealth visits or sending trial personnel to a participant's home when appropriate and as specified in the protocol, including conducting telehealth visits, verifying participant identity, and completing case report forms electronically for such interactions. Also recommends that you can use local healthcare providers that are actually not part of the formal clinical trial staff to perform certain clinical trial related activities that do not require detailed knowledge of the protocol or the product, as long as those activities fall squarely within the typical clinical practice of the providers involved in the activities. The guidance also recommends using qualified and trained personnel if specialized knowledge regarding the protocol or the product is required in the course of the trial. The guidance also recommends ensuring that the protocol addresses how adverse events identified during a remote encounter will be addressed, and also how urgent medical situations will be handled as well. Decentralized clinical trials that involve the use of digital health technologies should also be consistent with FDA draft guidance regarding digital health technologies for remote data acquisition and clinical investigations. And sponsors should ensure that selected digital health technology is suitable for use by all trial participants and available for use by all trial participants, particularly if some trial participants may have digital health technology that others may not. For example, if your trial involves using an app on a smartphone, the FDA is effectively recommending that you provide technology to participants so they don't necessarily have to have a smartphone. The FDA is effectively recommending that you make the app or the digital health technology available to all potential participants so as not to exclude participants in a particular socioeconomic class. The draft guidance also outlines certain unique additional responsibilities of the sponsor and investigator in connection with conducting a decentralized clinical trial. Those obligations include coordinating the decentralized activities, overseeing the remote personnel, addressing quality control measures to address the variability across the locations and the different personnel, and ensuring that the protocol adequately addresses remote activities. As I mentioned earlier, the FDA does not consider local healthcare providers that are contracted to provide trial-related services that are part of their routine clinical practice. FDA does not actually consider those individuals to be investigators. However, the FDA does require that those individuals be included in a task log that describes the local healthcare providers that are assisting with the trial, the roles and their tasks. Should also include the date that they're added to the log and where they conduct their activities and what type of activities they performed. The guidance also provides this task log should be dated and signed by the investigator and should also list healthcare providers that provide care to participants, but potentially not in connection with the trial. So for example, if you have a participant that experiences an adverse event, has an emergency situation and visits an emergency room, FDA recommends and suggests that the emergency room personnel and facility that address that emergency situation be listed in the task log as well. The guidance also provides that informed consent may be also obtained remotely with IRB oversight using applicable protective software that's compliant with Part 11. Medical devices suitable for home use that do not pose significant risks, the FDA suggests may be appropriate for use by participants without direct oversight by an investigator. Conversely, the FDA suggests that devices that are not intended for self-use or that pose significant risk to participants should only be used or administered by qualified personnel in connection with the trial. Decentralized clinical trials may allow for the direct provision of investigational products to participants, and the FDA suggests that the protocol should address the integrity and stability of those products, as well as the shipping process, tracking and receipt of those products, which is all done from a centralized location and overseen by an investigator. The safety monitoring plan should address the decentralized nature of the trial and ensure that adverse events are appropriately captured and addressed. Participants, as in other trials, should be able to contact trial personnel to report adverse events, to have their questions answered, and to arrange for potential unscheduled visits if they're participating remotely. A key issue that the FDA raised in this guidance is that if there is a significant safety risk that emerges during the course of a decentralized trial that is due to the remote nature of the trial, the guidance directs sponsors to discontinue the remote administration and use of the product and notify the FDA, the IRB, and all investigators, and do an analysis to determine whether the trial should continue. So there are certain risks associated with remote clinical trials, decentralized clinical trials, that may not be present in a traditional setting. And accordingly, the FDA expects those risks to be addressed in the safety monitoring plan with applicable measures for how issues will be addressed as they arise. Software in connection with a decentralized clinical trial can be used to address a variety of functions, including, as I mentioned, informed consent, reporting, managing electronic case report forms, scheduling, tracking products, synchronizing information, and facilitating communications. FDA expects that electronic software, digital health technology to be Part 11 compliant, and the FDA also expects training to be provided on technology to all applicable parties. Local healthcare providers and remote personnel that submit data directly into electronic case report forms should be listed as authorized data originators. But one key aspect of this guidance is the FDA's perspective on live video telehealth encounters. So the FDA indicated that it views live video interactions as effectively a live exchange of information and not subject to Part 11, sponsors and investigators to ensure that those types of encounters are compliant with local laws that address telehealth, as well as to protect the privacy and security of participants in the trial. Thank you again for joining us this week for Medical Device and Legal News. I'm Sam Bernstein, a partner of McGuire Healthcare Group. I would also like to thank my colleague, Sophie Moros, for helping to make today's program possible. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day.